Yay. Thank you for having me, Peter. This is a big honor for me. Afternoon, everyone. Today we will look at copyright and remix culture within three fields of media, and that is in music, in visual arts, as well as movies. It's going to be quite brief because we only have 1 hour. This lecture is actually 3 hours long, so I had to adapt it a bit. So we're first going to start with what is remix culture. Knobel and Langshire describes it as remix means to take cultural artifacts and combine and manipulate it into new kinds of creative blends. Now, a very simple example is the interpretation of the Marlboro box by the artist Ron English. So he simply took the iconic Marlboro cigarette box, combined it with the whole iconic idea of Jim Morrison, which was the lead vocalist in the Doors' 70s band. Now, obviously, during that time, drugs were quite a big thing. So we took a line from one of the Doors' songs, which is Baby Light My Fire, and one of the lines is, Baby, we couldn't get much higher. So he adapted the whole idea of cigarettes and turned it into a marijuana cigarette. Okay, so that's more or less what remix is. You take one idea from an original brand or concept, and you adapt it, you blend it and mix it with your own ideas, and that simply, to explain it in a simple way, is remix. We currently live in a wonderful age of digital media, where information can be copied and remixed. And it's much easier these days to remix and blend because of the digital age, because it's so simple to copy and paste. In the past, an artist who wanted to borrow from another work had to go through the process of recreating that element. But today it's quite easy. It's just a simple thing of making a digital artwork, using an original one, copy and pasting your own idea on that. Now, remix actually started with music, the whole idea of the remix culture, popular remix culture. And it started especially with the rap genre. Remixes sometimes simply provide a speedier or different version of a song, or a leaner, more stripped back sound, or an elongated song to keep people dancing longer. Once digital sound became the norm, however, all manner of mixing and sampling techniques were applied using different kinds of hardware devices or software on a computer. That's quite easy with all the softwares that we get today, in which you can manipulate existing songs. I mean, there's a lot of tools that you can use, like the ripple effect, or the reverb, or the chorus, where you can actually take an existing song, tweak the sound a bit, and then it becomes a whole new song. One of the most common examples of sampling and remix in music is the song Under Pressure by Queen and featuring David Bowie, and the remix of that song, the resampling of that song by the rapper Vanilla Ice. Now, that's quite a while ago. Queen released the song in '82, and Vanilla Ice reused it in '89. So I'm just going to play the two songs for you, snippets of those songs, just so that you can get the idea what the resampling is. Okay, so remix in music, it all started with rap, especially in popular culture. And as I said, very nice example is the song Under Pressure from Queen and David Bowie, and how Vanilla Ice, a rap artist, resampled this song. Just to give you like a simple idea. This is what... Ag, nee, man. There's certain areas that Vanilla Ice changed within the riff that is repeated. But he was under a lot of copyright issues with this song. Okay, so this is Under Pressure. This is the beat that goes through the whole song. Okay, so you can hear that there is a repeat. Now, Vanilla Ice was sued by Queen, but luckily he had so many golden albums sold, like 5 million or something like that, that Queen then said, okay, just give us recognition for the riff that you used in our music. And this is what he's got to say about remixing the song, resampling the song, and how important it is, rap music is in this specific culture. Now this is an interview in 1990, so you can see.
Ice Ice Baby used the Queen hook.
Queen, there you go.
And what's happened with that?
Rap music is sampling. And people who don't understand rap music, they say, well, he borrows this or steals this. Rap music, every major rap artist in the world samples music, you know? And that's all I did, is sample it. If my record 10 years from now went #1, I would say, yo, give me a piece of that, you know? That's all, I mean, and I don't blame them at all. And especially if it sells 5 million copies. But see, the reason why you don't hear as much controversy going on with other rap groups sampling and stuff is because a good rap record in the United States just goes gold. I mean, that's a good rap, that's a lot for one rap record, you know, it's go gold. And platinum is like, you barely get that for a rap record. You know, platinum records, a lot for rap. And I sold 5 platinum. So, you know, it's like they're gonna definitely come and get me. But for somebody that goes gold, it's not even worth their time to go get a lawyer and pay for the lawyer and everything just for a gold record. You know what I'm saying? So they just leave it alone and say, if he goes 5 times platinum, we're going to get him, you know. All they wanted was credit. All they wanted was credit, and that's all we gave them, you know. Sample by David Bowie and Queen. It's no big deal. And my lawyers handle all the stuff. I haven't talked to Queen or anything. It's no big deal. All it is sample by David Bowie and Queen. You know, it's still my song. I wrote it, produced it. It's Vanilla Ice.
Okay, so he sees it as his creation, his own piece of work. And this now for the 90s and the 80s was quite controversial. But today the laws have changed so much regarding using and mixing other songs into your own reinvention and creation. Okay, so it all started with rap. But movies, for centuries movies and movie directors have remixed images, shots, camera angles, scenes from other movies. I've got a very nice video that explains it so well, just to see how movies is absolutely a remix. I mean, Hollywood sticks with genres, and those genres, like romantic comedies, it's got a certain pattern. It's remix from original rom-coms like When Harry Met Sally. So this video is quite informative regarding remixing in movies.
Perhaps it's because movies are so massively expensive to make. Perhaps it's because graphic novels, TV shows, video games, books, and the like are such rich sources of material. Or perhaps it's because audiences just prefer the familiar. Whatever the reason, most box office hits rely heavily on existing material. Of the 10 highest grossing films per year from the last 10 years, 74 out of 100 are either sequels or remakes of earlier films or adaptations of comic books, video games, books, and so on. Transforming the old into the new is Hollywood's greatest talent. At this point, we've got 3 sequels to a film adapted from a theme park attraction. We've got a movie musical based on a musical which was based on a movie. We've got 2 sequels to a film that was adapted from an animated TV show based on a line of toys. We've got a movie based on 2 books, one of which was based on a blog, which was inspired by the other book that was adapted into the film.
Julie and Julia.
Do you follow? We've got 11 Star Trek films, 12 Friday the 13th, and 23 James Bonds. We've got stories that have been told, retold, transformed, referenced, and subverted since the dawn of cinema. We've seen vampires morph from hideous monsters to caped bedroom invaders, to campy jokes, to sexy hunks, to sexier hunks. Of the few box office hits that aren't sequels, remakes, or adaptations, the word original wouldn't spring to mind to describe them. These are genre movies, and they stick to pretty standard templates. Genres then break up into subgenres with their own, even more specific conventions. So within the category of horror films, we have subgenres like slasher, zombie, creature feature, and of course, torture porn. All have standard elements that are appropriated, transformed, and subverted. Let's use the biggest film of the decade as an example. Now, it's not a sequel, remake, or adaptation, but it is a genre film, sci-fi, and most tellingly, it's a member of a tiny subgenre where sympathetic white people feel bad about all the murder, pillaging, and annihilation being done on their behalf. I call this subgenre Sorry About Colonialism. I'm talking about movies like Dances with Wolves, The Last Samurai, The Last of the Mohicans, Dune, Lawrence of Arabia, A Man Called Horse, and even Fern Gully and Pocahontas. Films are built on other films, as well as on books, TV shows, actual events, plays, whatever. This applies to everything from the lowliest genre film right on up to revered indie fare. And it even applies to massively influential blockbusters, the kinds of films that reshape pop culture. Which brings us to... Even now, Star Wars endures as a work of impressive imagination, but many of its individual components are as recognizable as the samples in a remix. The foundation for Star Wars comes from Joseph Campbell. He popularized the structures of myth in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Star Wars follows the outline of the monomyth, which consists of stages like the Call to Adventure, Supernatural Aid, the Belly of the Whale, the Road of Trials, the Meeting with the Goddess, and a bunch more. Also huge influences were the Flash Gordon serials from the 30s and Japanese director Akira Kurosawa. Star Wars plays much like an updated version of Flash Gordon, right down to the soft wipes and the opening titles design. From Kurosawa, we get masters of spiritual martial arts, a low-ranking bickering duo, more soft wipes, a beneath the floorboards hideaway, and a boastful baddie getting his arm chopped off.
You just watch yourself. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems.
War films and westerns were also huge sources for Star Wars. The scene where Luke discovers his slaughtered family resembles this scene from The Searchers. And the scene where Han Solo shoots Greedo resembles this scene from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The climactic airstrikes in the Dam Busters, 633 Squadron, and the bridges at Toko Ri play very similarly to the run in the Death Star. And in many cases, existing shots were even used as templates for Star Wars special effects. There's also many other elements clearly derived from various films. We have a Tin Man, like the Tin Woman in Metropolis, a couple shots inspired by 2001, a grab the girl and swing scene like this one in The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, a holographic projection kind of like the one in Forbidden Planet, a rally resembling this one in Triumph of the Will, and cute little robots much like those in Silent Running. George Lucas collected materials, he combined them, he transformed them. Without the films that preceded it, there could be no Star Wars. Creation requires influence. Everything we make is a remix of existing creations, our lives, and the lives of others. As Isaac Newton once said, we stand on the shoulders of giants, which is what he was doing when he adapted that saying from Bernard de Chartres. In Part 3, we'll further explore this idea and chart the blurry boundary between the original and the unoriginal.
Yeah, so that is very interesting. I mean, everything blends in the whole time. Everything is a remix. What's also interesting is remix culture is also seen in the development of technology. I mean, if you look at the first computers built, like Apple really copied some ideas of the previous, I can't remember the name of the company, but there's always been like bettering the previous technology of a previous brand. And I think it's human to remix. I mean, you are a remix of what you see, fashion, accessories. We are all actually remixes. If you think of it, we are all blended. In visual arts, remix occurs the whole time, and there's a lot of copyright issues still to be sorted out in visual arts and the appropriation of other ideas. The artist that we will look at is Ron English. He specializes in popular culture and the way that he blends existing artworks and media brands with his own work. He has been arrested a few times and he's been to jail for copying certain ideas, like especially with the band The Kiss. It's a band it started in the 70s, but it went on in the 80s. He used their persona and their iconic look in his paintings, and there were several issues with that where they sued him. And also with McDonald's, with Ronald the Clown, that they also used that and appropriated into a present-day figure that's fatter than the original image. So his style is called mashup, and he's really propagating ideas and remixing important things in life, like he takes the whole idea of Joe the Camel cigarettes, and he appropriates it into well-known paintings like replica of the Last Supper. Okay, so to give an example, he took the Last Supper and he reappropriated it into something else. He took the Walt Disney cartoon characters and the Warner Brothers cartoon characters, and Mickey Mouse, the cartoon character that's older than all the rest, as Jesus. What's interesting is to spot who's Judas. Which character is Judas? No. What's his name? Goofy. Oh. He's Pluto and that one's Goofy, yes. It's Pluto. And it's quite a contradictory because Pluto is usually not the sharpest tool in the shed. And there's also Joe Camel, the typical cartoon that you found on Camel cigarette packs. I think it was in the 80s and 90s. So he mixes present-day media with very old school Renaissance type of paintings, and that's what he does the whole time. He does it with the Guernica as well, Pablo Picasso's Guernica, and yeah, with all sorts of older paintings. I'm just going to show you a snippet of his work, and you'll see in this video that it takes paintings of Van Gogh as well and reappropriate it. It takes the style of Jackson Pollock and mix it with his type of representation of popular culture, like he would use Bart Simpson characters, and then he would apply paint techniques similar to Jackson Pollock's.
It's not gonna light very easy. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, you're cool. Oh, get the money too. Get the money real quick. Get the money.
I actually started painting on canvases when I moved to New York City, and I actually learned how to paint by painting the billboards. So that was it was very easy to switch down to a 4 by 5 foot canvas from a 30 by 40 foot billboard. I call my art propaganda, and it deals with all things in pop culture and all things that were kind of force-fed, and I kind of reinvent them and put them back out as something different and perverse. In my art, I try to hit all the major icons, from Charlie Brown to Disney characters, or anything that just permeates the society. I try to reinvent and put back out there in a different way.
Unlike a pop artist, but a pop artist really means a popular artist, and you're taking from the popular culture and then feeding back into the popular culture. I have my own characters too, and I mix them in. But the thing is that Homer means something to people. People like Homer. I mean, he's an icon, and I can't really deal with anything until it becomes an icon. If you do something that everybody knows, that builds a door to bring them into your art. If you make things realistically, that builds a door to bring people into your art. If they recognize it, if it's a universal symbol, it's the same way like that a lot of artists would go paint the same mountain. Like Cezanne paints the mountain, and it's like he paints it in his way, and you can see it's his way. But I don't see the mountains; I just see the advertisements. So I live in New York, so I see I live in the big magazine, so I respond, to my mountains, which are these iconic images. But then that's what everybody else sees too. I'm dealing with something that everybody sees.
God bless you, Evelyn and family. I love you. I love you. I think of you every day and wish I could come in for a chat with you.
I approach each painting differently. I try to think about what the image is and what's the best way to get to the image. So it may involve building some models and lighting.
With some organ music.
The last time I did Guernica, I built like a model of Guernica because I wanted to do what it was like from the airplane that was actually bombing Guernica's point of view. And the only way I could conceive, to do that was to actually build a model and then photograph it. Once I have the model, then I can spin off a few paintings from it because then I can light it different ways with lighting techniques that I learned from, my days in photography. And it just really gets something you can play around with. And you can't really make this stuff up and have it have that feel of every weird little lighting effect is perfect. The stuff you just can't pull out of your head. And I kind of come up with these iconic images that I repeat and I do in different ways. So it's almost like I don't exactly have a style, but I come up with an image and then I find how many different ways can I do the same image. So like I'll come up with Guernica, then I'll paint it all different ways, like if Rembrandt painted it or if Andy Warhol painted it.
With so many miles between us, I thought I would visit you with some organ music. I don't play very good, but get lots of entertainment doing my thing on it. My organ has a button for piano. You will also hear other instruments. Lawrence enjoys playing on it too, mostly in evenings as he goes out to farm every day. God bless you, Evelyn and family. I love you. I love you.
Well, in the beginning, a lot of people didn't like Ron's stuff. They didn't understand it. They thought he was, cartoony, blah, 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 but...
Okay, so mashing up all different formats and examples of old age paintings into his own style is remix. I don't think it's direct copying. I don't think that the copyright should be an issue in this case. But the American law is quite more flexible with that. But the South African copyright law is quite hectic on visual artists. The law says that you cannot use an image from another artist and remix it until after that artist's death, until 50 years after that artist's death. And that goes for books, for music, and for art. And that's quite difficult. Because we live in a society where we see things, where we copy things, where we have opinions about things and we are visually expressing those opinions. And that's quite difficult, I think, and there's still a lot of space to develop copy art for visual artists in South Africa. And if you look at Zapiro, he's always in deep trouble because of what he's doing. It's difficult. But there's one case that was quite interesting. Gerard Marx is an artist, South African artist, and his signature style is working with maps. He uses maps to map out human body parts. This artwork, Mark Sheet 2, horizontal figure 2, was done in 2006. Now then, Island Devonport BMW did this image. That's also the mapping out of a human figure. And Gerard Marx took them on. He said, listen here, you are copying my style directly. He sued them, and he actually won the case. I think it was for 1 million rands. And that was quite a good thing for artists in South Africa, because the visual artists are not really protected well by the law for their work. But then again, William Kentridge created this work, Small Atlas Procession, using maps and figures, and this was done in 2000. So, I mean, Mark's work were done in 2006. So still, you can trace that nothing is really new. Things has been done. Like Diane Victor also used maps that she draws on. And that since I was at university, it was 2000, 2001. So nothing, I think my opinion is nothing is new. I mean, even if we look at that beautiful drawing back there, it's a remix. It's done through figure drawing. What the artist saw is represented on a piece of paper. I mean, that's how it is. What you see as a visual artist comes out in your art, and you have your own opinion about it, and you appropriate that opinion into something that you copy or that you borrow. Another artist, South African artist based overseas, I think she's at the moment in the USA, is Candace Brights. She works with video, and what she does is very interesting. She takes snippets from famous movies and reproduce it on film and edit it in such a way that the characters actually talk to each other. I'm going to show you a video. And also what she has to say about the copyright issues, because now she's dealing with Hollywood movies and footage from Hollywood movies. And luckily she hasn't been sued yet. But according to the American law, you cannot use footage from a Hollywood film or from a feature film in your artwork. But somehow she got through the system and she hasn't experienced any difficulties yet. Exactly, yeah.
Who are you?
I don't know.
Who are you, really?
I don't know. Let's introduce Dave to some of the rest of us. Why don't you tell Dave what brought you here? I'm sure he'd love to listen to what you guys have to say. We always do.
I'd love to join the group.
Come on, Dave, join us.
Fine, I'm proud to join the group.
I don't think of reading or theoretical conversations, dialogues with friends, or reading of texts as separate from or distinct from my practice. I see that as part of my practice, in the same way as going to the movies is part of my practice, whether that means going to see a Hollywood blockbuster or sitting at home and watching a Cassavetes movie. I see reading fiction as part of my process. I see conversation with other artists or with the subjects who appear in my work as part of the practice. And I think that art practice for every artist is about the coming together of a variety of impulses or things that one is attracted to, things that stimulate one, things that get one thinking. And certainly theory is one of those things.
To be somebody else, but I traded him in.
Gotta go back to being me.
Stop this cheap bullshit! What about you?
Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
We know that popular culture is rampant. We also know that popular culture is the culture of our times, and that the sphere in which we operate, contemporary art, is certainly a very tiny bubble relative to the cultural activities that most people ingest, on a broader scale. And as such, I think that one of the most interesting opportunities as an artist is to engage with and reflect on and try to translate or interpret that broader culture using art as a tool or as a lens. Art certainly is not independent of or autonomous from the influences and forces which often determine popular culture. And that whole tangled relationship is one which interests me tremendously, and at which I think all of my work engages. This, what is the relationship between contemporary art, contemporary theory, and contemporary culture more broadly? And is there a space within contemporary art for reflection on popular culture?
Haven't I seen you somewhere before? I don't know.
Who are you?
Is this you?
I don't know.
Is this you?
I don't know what to say.
Are all these you?
What are you running away from?
Somebody who might recognize me.
Oh, yeah? Who?
I recognize you. I know everything about you.
That's not what I asked you. I don't know what to say.
Are all these you?
I don't know exactly.
I really don't know, Doc.
Yes or no? What's the deal?
What are you running away from?
Tell us about yourself. Who are you? I don't know exactly.
We mustn't absorb and repress. You believe that, don't you?
He's not the person you thought he was. And because of his attitude towards my fears and his inability to deal with my feelings, I had come to have almost no self-esteem, no self-esteem, no self-esteem.
He's delusional.
He said, your intelligence is pulp.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
In his dreams.
Your intelligence is pulp.
Sounds like that voice in your head that tells you you can't do anything.
What could I do? I know it's my fault that he...
You don't actually believe his story.
I know it's my fault that he...
Don't do this.
Would anybody like to talk about this now?
What about?
I'm going to tell you something now I have never told anybody.
That's amazing.
In the question of individuality, the question of how
She's creating a whole new narrative, taking snippets from all these movies, and I think it's excellent. And
Hier is haar tweede versie. Die ander
ja,
was ook weer met dieselfde.
yes, he and she series.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's actually a lot of thought processes that went into this whole work, putting the whole thing together.
Exactly.
I just want to know how. It's not really seems so extremely difficult.
I think it's very difficult. I work with video, and editing is not the easiest thing on earth.
No,
Yeah, no. I think she must have a team working for her. Yeah. Okay, and that's a wrap. So sorry about the technological glitches. Usually I'm very professional with that, but my computer just decided not to work. So, any thoughts that you want to share?
What is the implications of them putting your own copyright onto that new remixed work?
Yo, I don't know. I have no idea because it differs from country to country.
Be another whole debate again.
Yo, I think that's very difficult. Yeah.
And if you appropriate images, like images from the internet, photographs, or from other artists, but you paint it and it obviously turns out completely different.
Yes.
Is that a problem? Only if you say that you used it? Or?
I'm sure it will only be a problem if that artist or person who has copyright on it sues you. Then it will be a problem. Yeah. But I know with my video art, I take existing songs for my soundtracks and I cut and slice and edit it and fragment it into little bits and put it together, almost like Candace Brake's visuals I do with my sound. And there is a law that says if you recreate a musical soundtrack and you change about 60% from the original soundtrack, it's legal. So
yeah, it's difficult because now I'm doing a PhD, but if I say I use appropriated images from the net, do I have to say which ones I use? I mean, like Malik Dumas appropriates images
all the time, exactly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think we have visual freedom. That's my opinion. And the law is very complex, and it's not, and it's also very like in little boxes. It's not flexible, which is very difficult. Yeah.
It also happened that I've created a work of art, and then doing research on something else, I discover a work almost exactly the same as mine. However, the artist is from the 17th century.
But it's,
so here these
it's
works,
subconscious
and
things that you see, and it goes into your subconscious and it sticks. When it interests you, it sticks, and then it comes out.
They say that the statue of Anton van Gogh, of the women's, the vrouwmonument, where the girl sits on her lap, it's very much a resemblance from the Pieta.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
this whole thing with theme and genre, this mother and child icon theme. I mean, even South African artists are influenced by those images, and there's a lot of artists that reproduce this theme of mother and child.
Exactly.
Yeah, even gallery owners have sometimes a very wrong view of these things, because there was a gallery artist that told me, yeah, the work that I made looks too much like a Penisiopus. And it was a round work, it was made with food coloring, and it had a collage on it. I mean, it was red. So that's kind of difficult, because now she places it as another artist's work, but it's completely different.
Yeah. No, I think what you see and what interests you goes into your subconscious and it comes out.
Yeah, those colors is what resonates with me as well for years, long before I even knew about Penisiopus.
Yeah.
And I love Penisiopus' work, but my work will never be.
Exactly, and I think that's where authorship comes in. I mean, you are the author of what you create, even though you appropriate existing work. You are the author, like Ron English is the author, and he created a whole new style.
What about collages? So you take pictures from magazines and words and slogans and stuff. And put your own painting on.
That's very interesting. I've got an example. I developed a study guide for UNISA for the first level students, Anya, for TDM. And I used student examples of artworks. And this one student made a collage, and he used brands like Protex and what else? Dove, all sorts of brands. And then that study guide had to go through copyright at UNISA. And the person in charge of the copyright of images said there's no way, it's against the law that we can use brands like that in images. And I explained, but it's an artwork. And he said the law does not allow that for copyright when it's printed and published by the university. So, yep.
But what if you go to Sassel and they print a catalogue in, 20-30% of the work there is all appropriated brand names and brand things.
You see, I think that somehow as individuals we've got a little bit more rights than as institution. As institution, we are so bound to kind of like
the rules,
to follow the certain rules and to explain everything. But as the individual, you can take pictures of whatever, and make collages. It is also a personal freedom, that is very important. But I actually wanted to, Nathani, I found it very, very interesting, the topic. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
What I want to tell you that also, another thing was actually, for years was happening is that many Hollywood directors would do a sort of like certain gestures towards other movie directors that would be almost like a little bit, covert, would be only for the people who are in the know-how. They know the particular
like Quentin
history.
Tarantino's work.
So it is exactly, I was researching one film, and then there was a scene where paparazzi was kneeling in front of the toilet bowl, and then I suddenly actually by other research I realized that it is an exact direct hello to Alfred Hitchcock, because he for the first time used an innards of the toilet while being flushed, and that was a taboo in the 60s in Hollywood. So can you see, there is a kind of like a particular a breakthrough in history, that in Hollywood history, that now certain film directors kind of like a direct but indirect pointer, I mean, you kind of like need to almost like stumble on it in order to, so it is, I think it's also sort of like hidden messages, codes, I mean, not everything is very overt,
As I read a PhD on horror movies, and how in every horror movie they use the shower scene, all from Hitchcock, they use the shower scene.
And the house, the attic. It's like the conscious, this unconscious, and the unconscious subconscious.
Yeah, and the cellar and the, it's a cellar and the, under...
Attic. Attic is there.
Yeah, the attic and the attic and the cellar and...
So how many of you guys, if you go to a hotel room, and if it happens that the shower there is in there, it's you've got to put the shower. How many of you
really think about
Psycho?
Yeah, I mean Psycho. Yeah, Psycho.
It's blended, it's mixed there by artists, but I think it also we are mixing it in our own minds, in our own. I mean, I dread to take the shower in those, because I remember. So I think it's actually kind of like, that's why when you talk about that you are being infused by certain images, this is actually what happens to us when we're taking a movie and encounter just a similar scene, and then the association is brought so powerfully straight into our face.
It's human nature. It's human nature to combine things and blend things
The
in your
most
mind.
interesting thing I did, and I think it's interesting for anybody to do, is I take my own work and then I put it in Google Images. You can search Google Images, and then you get everything that relates to that. And I put one image of a figure that was in blues and yellows, and I think I came up with fishes. But it's just...
That shows you everything is connected. Blended.
But how can you kind of just block out experience?
You cannot, it's not human.
Somewhere in your consciousness or something, your whole life from a kid to now, I mean, you don't know where you saw it, it's just somewhere in your brain.
So tasting something you've tasted before, but you
but
can't connect
it's a difficult thing that
And it's a thing that's come quite a long ways, because the whole thing within the printing press started with Johannes Gutenberg, and the whole thing with enlightenment.
It escalated. This one would put an
knowledge was
idea.
built on more knowledge, and this was this expansion of technology, this boom for the last 500 years, and it's progressing still the whole time. Nothing's going to stop it.
Yeah, because artists, I've seen that things that happened maybe 20 years ago is what would immediately spark something, and then you make a whole body of work, and then you try to continue with it, and then it just stops. And then usually it's all of those appropriation from your former experiences. It's very interesting.
I've seen while I was studying, one lecturer at the UP took a lot of ideas from her students. And in her solo exhibition, we were all like, that's my idea. I drew on a map in class, 6th of August. And it's like, I drew a wolf and now. So it comes through, and it's not direct copying. It's the experience that lecturer had with her students, and it stuck.
Somebody's going to see it anyway, something.
Exactly.
You can't keep it away.
You cannot have copyright on using maps.
It's silly.
Because first of all, Herbert Marx didn't invent a map. Anyway, excuse me, you're not being.
And I think the only thing that was similar is that it was stitched. I mean, that was the only thing that was similar.
And the women were stitching
Yeah.
Just to prove your point, Nathani.
Yeah.
We are going for it.
Like William Kentridge could have sued Gerard Marx because in 2000 he worked with figures and a map.
But what about Bloom? What's her name? That does the books.
With the maps.
I think it's maps. that she
Isn't it
cuts up.
Keith Dietrich? He also works with booklet and maps.
It's the woman that does the books and then comes up and does.
But I don't think
A
William
bewildered
Kentridge
book.
could have sued him because I'm sure there's some similarities and there's something that resembles a map maybe on his as well. But it's not the same.
Exactly.
Golden book.
And what about Map Studio? Are they going to sue the artists to make
The geography textbook.
Now that's one thing. I mean, you can get thousands and thousands of copyright-free images on the internet. That's maps and that's anatomy. That's anything that you can use. So how can, if you use a copyright-free image, how can somebody sue you because it resembles them?
But copyright is also another mechanism. Is it to make your artwork popular, to make yourself popular, right? So to make lots of noise around you as you invented something, you wanted, I mean, you think that you invented something, and then you're suing everybody else who is actually not touching the idea. So it is a tool to kind of like make yourself heard.
Like the biggest example is the spear.
Yes,
That's the
absolutely.
hugest example that
Yeah.
South Africa has seen.
Yeah.
Quite a while. That was a huge thing. I'm going to excuse myself. I have to go back to
Okay, you. Thank you for attending and sorry about the glitches. At least we scored some wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.